Danielle Farrow trains at a gym in Cincinnati, Ohio, 4 mornings a week. She deadlifts more than most of the men on that floor. She also just ended a 2-year relationship because her partner told her, in plain words, that her strength made him feel smaller. Not angry, not jealous exactly, smaller. The gym staff remember the conversation because she had it in the parking lot, keys in hand, voice steady. She wasn't asking for advice. She was stating a fact she'd already made peace with. This channel has documented that story in different cities, different decades, same shape. A woman gets stronger. A man who was fine with her before is not fine with her now. And the explanation men give, "She intimidates me," sounds like an excuse. It isn't. It's a description of something real happening in his body, his upbringing, and his bank account, all at once. The question this raises isn't whether some men prefer weaker women. Documented behavior says they do. The question is what weaker is actually protecting, and what it costs the women who keep choosing men who need it. That's what this is about. Women who understand this pattern stop taking it personally first. David Buss, a psychologist at the University of Texas at Austin, ran one of the most cited mate preference studies in the field. 37 cultures, over 10,000 participants, spanning 6 continents. Men, across nearly every culture surveyed, ranked a partner's relative youth and physical vulnerability higher than women did when selecting a mate. Not because vulnerability is attractive on its own, because evolutionarily, it correlated with something else men were actually selecting for. Reduced likelihood the partner could leave, physically dominate a conflict, or outcompete him for resources. Renata Solis, a competitive powerlifter in Tucson, Arizona, noticed the pattern on dating apps before she noticed it in person. Men who messaged her profile photos, makeup, soft lighting, went quiet the moment they saw her lifting a barbell loaded past her body weight. Same woman, different response. The strength hadn't changed who she was. It changed what she signaled, and what she signaled was no longer easy to outposition. Women who train past this threshold are not losing options. They're filtering for the smaller number of men whose preference isn't rooted in control. That number is smaller. It is not 0. And the difference matters more than most women are told. Women who date strong adjacent men, men secure enough to date equals, are dating men whose biology has already adjusted to that reality. Lee Gettler, an anthropologist at Northwestern University, tracked testosterone levels in men over several years as they moved from single to partnered to fathers. Testosterone dropped significantly at each stage, not from age, but from role. Partnered, invested men show measurably lower testosterone than single men of the same age. Lower testosterone correlates with lower aggression, lower status seeking, and, critically, lower threat response to a partner's success. Priya Chandran, an orthopedic surgeon in Portland, Oregon, spent years dating men in finance and law who described her career as intense. She later married a firefighter, a profession stereotyped as hypermasculine, who never once flinched at her income or her hours. The difference wasn't the job title. It was that his sense of self wasn't hormonally or socially tied to being the higher performer in the room. A man whose identity depends on out-earning, outlifting, or out-achieving his partner is running on a system built for scarcity and competition. A man who isn't threatened by her strength has, in a very literal physiological sense, already stopped competing with her. Women who stop mistaking that calm for indifference start recognizing it as the actual green flag. Women who train seriously are not being pickier by accident. They're being repositioned by a mechanism called assortative mating. And Christine Schwartz, a sociologist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, has spent 2 decades studying it through education and income data. Her research found that as women's educational attainment overtook men's across the United States, marriages between similarly matched partners became more common and more stable than marriages where one partner significantly outpaced the other in status. Physical strength operates on the same axis as education and income. It's a status marker. It sorts. Kathleen Voss, a former Division I rower now training clients in Richmond, Virginia, describes the men who approach her at competitions versus the men who approached her in her 20s, before she started lifting seriously. The earlier group wanted a companion. The current group wants a peer, Someone who trains at 5 in the morning without being asked twice, understands recovery, understands ambition as a shared language rather than a competing one. Strength doesn't shrink the dating pool, it resorts it, filtering out men who need a hierarchy, filtering in men who were looking for an equal all along. Women who resent the smaller pool are grieving the wrong number. The right number was never the total, it was always the overlap. Women who are financially self-sufficient are being evaluated differently than they realize, and not always favorably. Christine Munch, a sociologist at the University of Connecticut, published research tracking infidelity risk based on economic dependency within marriages. Her data found that men who were economically dependent on their wives were significantly more likely to report infidelity than men in more balanced or male breadwinner households. The mechanism isn't cruelty, it's compensation. Men experiencing dependency as a threat to masculine identity sometimes rebuild that identity somewhere else, at their partner's expense. Simone Aldridge, a physical therapist in Charlotte, North Carolina, out-earned her husband by a wide margin for 6 years. She noticed the strain show up in small places first. Comments about her schedule, jokes about who really ran the household finances that stopped being jokes. The relationship survived, but only after direct, uncomfortable conversation about what his identity needed to feel intact. A woman's financial strength, like her physical strength, isn't the problem. It's a stress test. It reveals which men can hold their own sense of worth without needing hers to be smaller. Most men have never been asked to do that work. The ones who've already done it are rare enough to notice fast. Women who choose partners secure in their strength aren't just avoiding discomfort, they're avoiding a documented risk to the relationship's survival. Alexandra Killewald, a sociologist at Harvard University, studied marital stability in households where wives out-earned their husbands. Her research found that breadwinning wives did not, on their own, increase divorce risk. The risk rose specifically in households where the husband also failed to contribute to housework. The combination of economic imbalance and unshared domestic labor, not the imbalance alone. In other words, it was never really about the money or the muscle. It was about whether he could adjust his contribution when she raised hers. Marguerite Lin, a nurse practitioner in Sacramento, California, married twice, the first marriage ending after she was promoted twice in a row, and her husband's participation at home stayed exactly the same. Her second marriage has lasted 11 years, through a bigger promotion and a harder training block than the first. The variable wasn't her ambition. It was his willingness to move when she did. This is the layer most women discover last and pay for longest. A man's comfort with her strength was never really about her body, her income, or her title. It was a preview of whether he could share power without needing to reclaim it. Women who learn to read that preview early save themselves years. This channel has never framed strength as a filter for finding a man. It's a filter for finding out who someone already is. The women who keep lifting past the moment it makes a partner uncomfortable are not choosing loneliness. They're choosing information. Every man who leaves when the numbers on the bar go up has told her something true on a timeline she didn't have to guess at. And every man who stays, who adjusts, who shares the floor, who was never competing with her in the first place, has told her something rarer. The goal was never to become unintimidating. It was to become exact, strong enough that the wrong fit reveals itself early and the right one doesn't have to be convinced. That's not a smaller life, that's a filtered one. This is Iron Femme. Strength has no expiration date.